Stop calling it a savings account. That implies you own it. You don't. Legally, your 401k is not your property. It is a general unsecured debt of the institution holding it. That means, in a courtroom, you are not a depositor. You are a lender, and you are lending your life savings to a system that is legally allowed to use them as collateral. The trap was set in 2010. They called it the Dodd-Frank Act. They told you it would punish the banks. Instead, it authorized bail-ins, a mechanism to seize your deposits to save the system. There is $45 trillion sitting in American retirement accounts. It is the largest concentration of wealth in human history, and they have already written the laws to take it. Let me show you how the trap was built. To understand the mechanism, you don't need a degree in finance. You need to look at a Roman soldier in 6 AD. His name was Marcus. He served the Emperor Augustus for 20 years. He marched. He bled. He killed for the empire. Why? Because Augustus promised him a pension. It was called the aerarium militare. It was the first state pension fund in history. The deal was simple. Give us your loyalty now, and we will give you land and gold later. Marcus believed the promise. He served his 20 years. But when he came home, the land was gone. Wealthy elites, friends of the emperor, had purchased the plots through intermediaries. The gold payments were delayed. The pension wasn't a savings account for Marcus. It was a loyalty trap for Augustus. A soldier with his future locked in a government promise doesn't rebel. He waits. He obeys. The first pension system in Western history ended with the veterans penniless and the empire collapsing because citizens refused to enlist. Augustus understood something modern governments understand too. A population with their wealth locked in a system they can't exit is a population that can't resist. Your 401k is the modern version of the aerarium militare. It has a 10% penalty for early withdrawal. It has mandatory distribution rules. It has tax consequences if you touch it. Your savings are inside a cage, and the government holds the key. But the cage has a second lock. Let me show you who gets paid first when the banks fail. In 2010, they passed the Dodd-Frank Act. They told you it was to punish the banks for the 2008 crisis. Never again, they said. They lied. Deep inside the legislation, they replaced bailouts with bail-ins. In a bailout, the taxpayer pays. In a bail-in, the depositor pays. Here is the creditor hierarchy if your bank fails today. First in line, the derivatives, counterparties, the gamblers. They get paid in full. Second, secured creditors. Third, administrative costs and employee wages. Fourth, you, the general unsecured creditor. Fifth, the shareholders. The casino bets get paid before your life savings. This isn't an accident. This is the 2005 Bankruptcy Act working exactly as designed. It gave derivatives super priority status. The top 25 US banks hold over $206 trillion in derivatives exposure. The FDIC insurance fund holds $128 billion. Do the math. That is a coverage ratio of 0.75%. The insurance fund is a rounding error. In a real crisis, the money isn't there. So they have already decided who takes the loss. It isn't the casino, it's you. But maybe you think the government wouldn't actually do it. Maybe you think that's just a legal technicality. History says otherwise. Let's go back to 1720. London? The British government was drowning in war debt. They owed millions in irredeemable annuities, guaranteed pension payments they couldn't afford. They needed a way out. They needed to default without calling it a default. So they created a company, the South Sea Company. They launched a massive propaganda campaign. They convinced the annuity holders, the retirees of 1720, to voluntarily trade their guaranteed government income for stock in this exciting new company. Democratizing wealth, they called it. The stock soared from £128 to £1,000. Government officials, who got in early, sold at the top. Then the bubble burst. The stock crashed to 150. Thousands of pensioners were ruined. They traded a guarantee for a gamble, and they lost everything. But the government won. Their debt was erased. The liability was transferred from the Treasury to the citizens. It was a rug pull with a stock ticker. Now look at August 7, 2025. President Trump signed Executive Order 14332. The title sounds nice. Democratizing access to alternative assets for 401k investors. Sound familiar? Democratizing. The order directs the Department of Labor to let 401k plans invest in private equity, private credit, crypto, and longevity risk-sharing pools. Within 5 days, the warnings against private equity were rescinded. Knut Rostad of the Institute for the Fiduciary Standard called it what it is: a massive train wreck where retirement accounts will be annihilated. They are channeling your safe retirement savings into high-fee, illiquid, high-risk assets that Wall Street needs to offload. They are using your 401k to provide exit liquidity for their bad bets. It is the South Sea Bubble 2.0, but that is the slow extraction. Let me show you the fast one. They don't even need to trick you into buying bad stocks. They can just raid the fund directly, and they have already proven they can do it. Meet the federal employees. They are the test subjects. The G Fund is the savings plan for federal workers. It holds nearly $300 billion. Since 2011, the Treasury Department has raided the G Fund 8 times during debt ceiling crises. They call it extraordinary measures. From Treasury documentation dated January 2025, Congress has granted Treasury the statutory authority to suspend reinvestment when the Secretary determines that the fund cannot be fully invested without exceeding the debt limit. Translation: when the government runs out of money, they stop putting interest into the employee pension fund and use that cash to pay other bills. They pay it back later, usually, but the precedent is set. The Civil Service Retirement Fund, raided 8 times. The Postal Retiree Health Fund, raided 8 times. The government already treats federal retirement savings as a piggy bank. Federal employees are captive. They can't move their money. They can't opt out. Now look at your 401k. Can you move it to gold without penalty? No. Can you take it out and buy land? No. Can you hide it from the IRS? No. You are in the same cage. You just don't know it yet. But other countries have already shown us the next step. Let's look at the modern victims. Poland, 2014. Prime Minister Donald Tusk went on television. He looked the camera in the eye and said, "There is no way the state will take this money." He was talking about the private pension funds holding Polish treasury bonds. Months later, the government seized 36 billion euros worth of those bonds. They simply cancelled them. They erased the bonds to lower the national debt to GDP ratio. They didn't call it theft. They called it pension reform. Sovereign debt dropped from 57% to 49% overnight. The government balance sheet looked great. The retirees looked destitute. Official denials are the dinner bell for confiscation. Hungary, 2010. The government was facing a debt crisis. Prime Minister Viktor Orban gave his citizens a choice. Transfer your private pension savings to the state system, or lose your future state pension benefits entirely. It was a shakedown. Nice retirement you have there. Shame if something happened to it. 97% of citizens chose to transfer. The government framed it as a voluntary opt-in. In reality, it was a $14 billion seizure. Watch for the language. Opt-in to guaranteed returns. Voluntary conversion to government bonds. It starts voluntary. It ends mandatory. Cyprus, 2013. The banks failed. The EU stepped in. The initial proposal was to tax all deposits, even the insured ones. The people rioted. So the politicians revised the plan. They only seized the uninsured deposits. 47.5% of savings, over 100,000 euros, were converted into equity in the failing bank. The bank stayed open. The depositors were wiped out. And then the EU passed the Bank Recovery and Resolution Directive. They made this the law of the land for all of Europe. Cyprus wasn't a mistake. It was a template. And the mechanism exists in US law under Dodd-Frank. It is loaded. It is waiting for a trigger. Drop a comment. Where is your retirement money held right now? A bank? A brokerage? Crypto? I want to see how concentrated the target is. Now let me show you where we are in the sequence. The pattern is consistent across 2,000 years. Rome, Britain, Poland, America. Phase 1. Promise. The government establishes a system with tax benefits. Put your money here. We will protect it. Phase 2. Accumulate. The citizens diligently save. $45 trillion piles up. Phase 3. Crisis. The government debt reaches unsustainable levels. We are at 120% debt to GDP today. Phase 4. Channel. Regulatory changes route savings toward government debt or risky assets. The Trump executive order in August 2025 started this. Phase 5. Trap. Withdrawal restrictions prevent exit, already in place. Phase 6. Extract. Emergency powers, bail-ins, or forced conversion. We are currently between Phase 4 and Phase 5. The channeling has begun. The trap is set. We are waiting for the trigger. And the people in charge know it. In November 2022, the FDIC's own advisory committee met to discuss bail-in procedures. The people in that room included the former president of Goldman Sachs and former Fed Chair Ben Bernanke. They discussed how to handle the next collapse. They discussed how to manage the narrative. 4 months later, Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank collapsed. The next crisis isn't theoretical. It is scheduled. The Roman legionary who returned home to find his land gone didn't see it coming because he trusted the emperor. The British retiree who bought South Sea stock didn't see it coming because he trusted the parliament. The Polish worker who lost his bonds didn't see it coming because he trusted the prime minister. They all believed the rules would protect them. But the rules were written by the people holding the bag. Your 401k is not a savings account. It is collateral for a bankrupt system. The question isn't whether they will come for it. The question is what form the extraction will take. Will it be a slow bleed through inflation? A channeling into bad assets? Or a direct seizure like in Poland? You can't stop the pattern. It is the math of empire. But you can stop being surprised by it. The first step is recognizing where you are in the sequence. You just did. If this satisfies anything, hit subscribe. Because the history they don't teach is the history that protects you. Position accordingly.